Hello and welcome to a very somber and it's going to be a serious episode. I'm not even going to try and do a funny beginning to this. This is Bored and Annoyed. I'm home at the movies.
And I almost shit my pants while watching this movie.
And who are
Jackson.
you? It's Jackson. And we watched Hotel Mumbai. And I say it a lot. Buckle up, kids. This was quite a ride.
It was nuts.
Bored and Annoyed.
I'm giving it an A-, even though I think that there are faults in this.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say that there's a goal that a filmmaker has, and I like to grade on a curve of how good of a job it does at kind of reaching that goal.
Right.
And the goal of this was to make you uncomfortable, and it did. It was intense as fuck, fast-paced, and it did all that while still giving enough bits to each one of the main characters in the movie to make you care about all of them.
Yeah. So, this was a very, very tough watch. Painful. I would say probably the closest I've gotten to sort of like reliving like 9/11.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially in a theater. I mean, it's horrific.
It reminds you of how pissed you were after 9/11.
Oh yeah. Now I'll be interested to hear what your flaws are on this. Because I'm probably going to give this a straight A.
Really?
Yeah. This for what it's trying to do, it does it damn near. It's basically perfect. It's basically perfect.
That's why it's getting an A- from me.
The only problem is, and it's kind of one of those things of like, you almost can't grade this movie on not having something that it's not trying to have, but there's like no metaphors in this. It's just kind of like, it's very straight. Just, this is what happened. Series of events. It's fucking horrific.
And it has balls.
It has balls.
I was sitting there like waiting for like because I knew you have to put the scene in where it kind of is portrayed that like not all Muslims are like this.
Yeah.
And they do that, and we'll talk about that in spoilers, but they don't do it much. I mean, it's just, look, we're not dealing with what all of your opinions are regarding this topic. This isn't a political movie.
Yeah.
It's just, this is how we see, like, this is what happened.
Right.
And we're putting you there.
Yeah.
And the way you want to think about the characters and what their motivations are, or the outside world and all that shit, that's on you. You can take it and interpret it any fucking way that you want to.
Right. Well, I don't think that it even bothers. See, and you're saying that, and I'm kind of wondering exactly who the other character is. It was nice they actually tried to spend a little bit of time with the terrorists.
Yeah,
totally. They kind of fleshed out some of them and made them a little bit more human, which was nice.
Because they are human.
Right. Yes.
We like to pretend they're not.
But more often than not, the point is that it's almost like when you choose to be this, you cease being somebody that really is deserving of sympathy. And it's not any sort of indictment of a religion. It's an indictment of a series of choices that led these people to this point. And also an indictment of the people who would choose to capitalize on young men like this.
Well, and I guess that's my point, is like, that's why to me it has balls, because there's going to be people. I think this movie has like a 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of the negative reviews on that is like, there's people that just, they don't want to hear it when you bring up like a marginalized group and you portray them in a bad way. Yeah. They just don't want to hear that. And they're going to have a visceral reaction to this movie.
Right. Well, and those people, so basically, you're kind of talking about like leftists. It's certain leftists is basically.
Sure, certain, not all.
And I'll say, as the resident leftist, that those people need to stop living in a fantasy world, because people like this exist. Now, It's pretty tragic that they exist. It sucks that there's a part of the world that is so lost that young men can be brainwashed into doing things like this.
It's crazy, man.
And that sucks, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that a movie that shows it should be castrated or fucking, dragged over the coals because it's portraying something that literally, this is based on real events. This happened.
Exactly. Like, I have a feeling if they did like a Columbine movie or something, which would be, you could do like a similar movie with like a shooter type thing, that, there wouldn't be commentary on that topic so much because that's an easier target. Now, I don't think you could do that movie in part because it's just, people would just find it way more fucked up. It's easier for people to, in Hollywood anyway, to kind of see it. I don't know, to see this, like, it'd be weird to see a high school shooter movie like this. It would be I feel like it would be even harder for me to watch because I'm more attached to that personally.
You've lived that kind of life.
Correct.
It's easier to sympathize with that. This is just one of those things where it's just this universal thing of like, you're watching something just truly, truly horrific happening.
It is horrible.
And, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm an A. You're an A minus.
But I do want to say before spoilers.
Okay.
It's not. It's tastefully done for the most part.
For the most part,
like
yeah.
it doesn't. It's not just like come get your rocks off because you're seeing a bunch of crazy shit go down.
It certainly does not glorify it in any way. The violence is not really sensationalized. They really try to play it down. Not play it down, but they really try to just grounded in reality.
Right.
There's no excessive like heads exploding or anything.
It's not The Raid at Hotel Mumbai.
No,
you know what I mean?
Not even close. I do actually feel like tasteful is probably the best way to describe it because this deserves all of the respect that those people went through this. It deserves.
And that is what's great about the movie is like at the end, I was emotionally affected by this fucked up movie.
Yeah.
Like every character had their little moment where it was like, I felt sad or happy or whatever.
You were sad. I was very angry throughout a lot of the movie because it's just, I don't know. It's just terrorism is just an awful thing. It's just an awful thing.
It is. It's fucked up, man. Should we get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
I'll start with the main scene that dropped this to an A minus for me.
Okay.
There's a scene involving a baby.
Okay.
Now, to kind of give this some background, the only character in this who is a real person is the chef.
What do you mean by a real person?
Like based on a real person. That guy was a real guy.
Okay.
Now the rest of the characters in the movie, they kind of took bits and pieces. They do this in movies. They take bits and pieces of different stories and they kind of combine people and they create fictionalized characters. I'm fine with that. There's a scene with a baby though in a hotel room where like the babysitter is watching the baby while the parents are out at dinner, and the terrorists are going through the hallway like checking room by room. And some woman runs into the room. Yeah. So the terrorists go to the room and this woman that's watching the baby has to hold the baby in the closet while like the terrorists go through the room and shit. And that scene, while effective, because you can't help but not sit there and be like, oh God, like the baby's going to cry, whatever.
Yeah.
It just seemed so easy to me. Like it seemed like such a fucking like, oh, let's come up with this scene. Like, I mean, I can't say for certain it's manipulative.
I see what you're saying.
Is my point.
I've said it. You're kind of saying something that I've said over the years, which is the years. We've only been doing this for a year.
Well, you've probably said it over the years.
Yeah, I have said it. But it's where you can feel the screenwriter in the scene.
Yes, correct.
Yes, and I can kind of get that because it is almost manufactured. It's a really effective scene, though.
I know. It annoyed me because it's like I watch This Is Us, and this is the first time I've mentioned this on this show that I watch that. But every episode, it's really effective. It makes you sad. Like I've cried during multiple episodes of the show, but you know that it's being designed
to make you cry.
It's manipulative.
Well, okay. So, I mean, if we're being real honest, The whole point of any scene is to make you feel the emotion that they're trying to make you feel.
That's true.
The point is, though, is that when you can feel it, when it feels over the top, when it feels almost like a certain scenes can feel schmaltzy in a romance because it's just so over the top.
But I will say, if the biggest nitpick I have against the movie is the fact that a scene did what it was supposed to do, and it annoyed me because I was consciously aware of that.
Yeah.
That's not that bad of a problem.
And I thought that scene was pretty masterfully done because the tension started coming in to me because the baby starts like kind of like almost choking as like the woman is like holding the baby's mouth so that it won't cry.
Well, it didn't. She wasn't. Like, that's what was frustrating.
No, she was holding it.
Until the wait. She waited too fucking long to grab the mouth of the goddamn baby.
Yeah, but once she did, it was there, and there's kind of like muffled, and I'm like, oh my god, is the baby going to die because she's so scared?
And I was on the Seen It cast last week, and apparently there was a terrorist, and I'd have to look this up, but in not like the 70s or 80s or something, there was a story about that happening where a woman held her hand over her baby's mouth and it actually died.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what they were drawing from, but it would have been fucking nuts is if that happened in this movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the moment where I feel like that's almost like jumping. It's not jumping the shark, but it's the moment where you kind of emotionally jump the shark because you can never.
Yeah, it's true.
Like you can't top that throughout the whole movie. The tragedy of that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Michael Myers didn't even kill a baby in the latest Halloween.
I know, missed opportunity. But yeah, I mean, okay, so Dev Patel.
Great.
Fan-fucking-tastic. One of the greatest scenes is when he talks to that fucking woman. And he's so calm and measured in his response and respectful so what I'm wondering... He
understands why she's being the way she's being, even though it is a illogical, stupid, jump the gun response. He gets it.
And this takes place in India. So my question was, and this is probably just a matter of ignorance on my part, is he Hindu or is he Muslim?
He's Sikh.
Is he Sikh?
Yeah, he says something up to that effect.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
In that scene, I believe.
Because he says something about like, this is something and it would bring great dishonor upon my family if I were to leave my home without it.
Right.
But if it makes you feel comfortable, I will take it off here. And it's just a really ridiculously, unbelievably powerful scene. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, no, there were multiple scenes that I loved in this regarding that concept, because what I like most possibly about this movie and why I think it's like so much better than so many of the cookie cutter movies is like the characters are all multifaceted. I mean, like the Russian character played by what's his fucking name from the Harry Potter movies?
He's from the Harry Potter movies?
Yeah, he's the Malfoy dad.
Oh my god, dude has not aged well.
He was in Brotherhood. He looks fine. He's looked the same for a long time.
I don't know. He looked pretty rough in this, but now
Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs. Yeah. He plays like this asshole Russian guy, and the first time you meet him, he just seems like a total piece of shit.
Ordering 2 hookers.
Well, right, yeah. Well, hey, whatever you want to do. But he's crass.
Yeah.
And he's a dick. Yep. Whatever. And then like when he starts kind of being protective of the main woman character in the movie, you're kind of like on edge, like not trusting him.
Yes. But he's just being a good guy.
Yeah, he's just a badass, like no nonsense loudmouth dude. And it's like you could have easily made him like the character that's on the inside that like causes problems. Or
he's ex-KGB, I believe.
Yes.
Which was kind of a nice little twist there, actually.
His going out scene was great too, because he's just having none of it, spitting in the fucker's face, and you're just and the movie does such a good job of like setting that shit up, so you're just with him. You're just spitting that fucker's face.
Yep.
Okay,
so what this does for me is like you can't help but put yourself in that situation. You just can't.
It's true.
And there's a part of me that really, and they say that you never know how you're going to react until you're in that situation. When I watched it, I was like, the only way that anybody gets out of this because they had these fuckers. Like there were some certain circumstances that happened that made things worse, like that guy who started doing the interview.
Oh
God,
that made me mad.
Yeah.
That's what's great too, is like every step of the movie, as things are happening in this movie, you're like I was like visibly like shaking my head in the theater, like, don't do that, you know, like just that, like biting your fucking fingernails.
Oh yeah, I was fidgeting in my seat quite a bit.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
But sorry, continue.
No, but it's one of those things where I've seen too many movies and I'm like, we got to die hard this bitch. We got to fucking take out one of these dudes. And that was, in all honesty, that was my real thing. Like, okay, Armie Hammer does a pretty good job in this movie.
Yeah.
There's the scene where...
I like him a lot.
I do too. I hope his career kind of makes a turnaround. Even though he said some pretty stupid things about people making comments about Stan Lee's death. On Twitter. But
that's a no-no for home at the movies.
Well, no. He went out and said stuff like, "Oh, look at all these fake Stan Lee fans posting things on Twitter."
Because he's like a real Stan Lee fan.
Can't a man just die in peace or whatever, something like that? And you're just like, dude, they're just mourning. Just let them mourn. You sound like an idiot, but whatever. Seems like a nice enough guy, heart in the right place. Anyways. He leaves the hotel or the restaurant area, and he goes into sort of the main entryway. And I'm like, this is where that if you had found like a butcher's knife, you could sneak up, especially you take off your shoes, sneak behind this guy, slit his wrist or slit his neck, and you can take out these dudes. You could get a fucking weapon, because at that point, now the problem is that he has no awareness of like who's above watching the dude who's on the main floor. But as you're watching it, at that point, you don't really think that anything's happening, and it's just frustrating because I'm like, man.
Well, actually, at my last job, we did active shooter training. Yeah. And that's basically what they tell you is to charge the fucker. Yeah. Like, when, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if a group of people charges the fucker, they were outmanned completely. Yeah. And that was one thing, too. Another nitpick. Okay. While we're at it. There's like over 1,000 people in the hotel, apparently. Yeah. And it didn't feel that way at times. I mean, I get it. A lot of them are like locked in their rooms or whatever. But also I'm thinking, I forget, there were 12 total terrorists, I think, that were like going around the town. Yeah. And so some of them were elsewhere. It's like a bunch of people must have just gotten out right away. Probably. Or just fucking, because I think I'd be sitting there like, look, like if you had the TV on or whatever, I guess you don't have the information that you need, but it's like, if there's less than like 30 of them, like you know your odds, if you just try and get the fuck out, like take a stairwell or whatever, they can't watch the whole building. Yeah. You know? Yep.
I think it's one of those things, like I said, it's very easy for us to watch the movie and say like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? True. Yes. Because the fear is just overriding these people. Yeah. And that was my frustration, but it's also so realistic. And that's why it's so frustrating, is because more than likely this is what would happen. More than likely in most situations.
Well, it was like a couple days.
It was like it was
3 days or something.
Was it over 3 days?
I think it might have been a few days, 3 days. I should have done some research after seeing
But it's movie. It's tragic. Dev Patel, I mean, the strength of him. Everybody's so good in this. But his strength is playing that sort of like earnest, innocent, stalwart kind of character that does the right thing. It's why he was so good in Slumdog.
Well, and that was a big theme of the movie too, is the hotel, like the workers are doing it's crazy. The chef was great.
It gives you goosebumps. Yes, it gives you, because you're like, the amount of honor that these people have. Most people would not be willing to die for their customers. No. That's impressive as fuck.
No, it was good.
The head chef, he is the father from The Big Sick.
Oh, actually. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So glad
and
to
he
see
was great.
He was great.
Everyone,
he was really
all the performances are good. That Nazanin Badari or whatever, the one who was shopped to Tom Cruise in real life to be his Scientologist wife. Yeah. Really fucked up story there, actually. Yeah. But she's good in everything. Yeah. I like her a lot. Jason Isaacs was great. Fucking Armie Hammer was good.
Did you hear who the babysitter was supposed to be?
Who?
It was your crush, the Warm Bodies girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was supposed to.
Only thing that could have made the movie better.
She got pregnant, so she couldn't take the role. So
she would have been good.
She would have been good.
But
yeah, great movie though. Great.
Yeah,
I really
it
liked
really was good. Now, I did mention this, so I want to make sure and get it out there. But the scene where they kind of have the moment where it's like not all Muslims are bad.
Yeah.
Was when she starts like saying a prayer or a passage out of the Quran or whatever, as he's like going to shoot her.
And he's like telling her to shut up, bitch.
He's telling her to shut the fuck up because he's on the phone, and the leader guy who's just proving that this whole thing is just a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Their whole religious doctrine garbage that they're being, spewing is bullshit.
Well, yeah.
Is like, no, kill her anyway. You got to kill her anyway. Like it's, it's for the cause, whatever.
Yep.
Thought that scene was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like in that, like the terrorist character, there's a moment when he's asking his dad, like, did they pay you?
Yeah. And
it's just like, you start to realize like,
that makes you even more mad because you know that there's some richer, like, okay, he's still probably poor by sort of like Western standards, but the guy who's in charge of this whole thing is still some fucking rich asshole.
He could be loaded. We don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, that too. But he's just a fucking asshole. Oh, the fact that these people, the people who coordinated this whole thing, are still out there alive to this day it's a travesty. I mean, they should be taken. It's fucking sickening, man. Like, it's just sickening.
It's sickening because, and I mean, I guess we're getting into real world here, but it's like there are governments in that area of the world that will cover up for that. You know what I'm saying? Like Bin Laden was in fucking Palestine or whatever, or Pakistan or whatever. And like he was right down the fucking road from, they knew he was fucking there.
Right. Well, now we're getting into, I don't know if people who listen to this podcast, and you guys can tell us at boredandannoyed.com or on our Instagram, but we're getting into politics here, and maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't. My problem and my thought on sort of the whole situation is it's kind of like the world refugee problem. When it's kind of like, as the world shrinks and we kind of become all sort of like embroiled in each other's shit, the whole global economy thing. It's basically sort of the idea of like, well, if you have really poor neighborhoods, or in this instance, really poor countries, shit gets worse for just about everybody, because eventually people get pissed. And if people are pissed and they're poor and they got nothing to lose, they turn to extremism, they turn to violence, they get what they want. I mean, they don't get what they want, but they make life hell for other people. And that's kind of where I look at this and I'm like, something needs to be done, because you need to make it so that terrorism doesn't seem like such an attractive alternative.
It's almost like either something huge and drastic needs to be done, or we just need to out of here.
Well, the problem
and not even just us, but like they have to do whatever needs to be done. Right. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the problem. Like you get sort of like some African Americans will tell you like, oh, we don't want white people helping in our societal problems. And you'll get some people in the Middle East saying that, but it's also like, well, but your problem becomes my problem when somebody steals a fucking plane
and blow. Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, it's where I go, like, we're all on this fucking mud ball together. Maybe we should try and help out these people, because if we don't, we start paying for it in the future. That's the problem.
There are like cultural differences that make it tough too, because it's almost like the mindset in some of these other places is like that of 500 years ago.
Well, that's,
you know what I'm saying? Like, and how do you change that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I say it like there's some sort of easy fucking answer.
Oh, there's just a switch.
Yeah, it's just, and I know that there's not.
Right.
But it is very frustrating, because I feel like this should be a global effort. And sometimes it does feel like America's trying to do everything on its own.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, at least as far as like and that's a problem too. We shouldn't be the fucking world's police.
I agree.
We just can't.
Fuck yeah.
We just can't do it. So I don't know. It's a movie that makes you think. It's a movie that makes you feel.
Well, and it is funny. Your point you made at the beginning is true. Like, I haven't thought about like 9/11 in that context and gotten all pissed for a while. I mean, every year on like around 9/11, I kind of like turn on some documentaries or whatever, or I'll watch something about it. But watching it, it's just like, oh yeah, there are monsters.
Yes.
And one, actually, to be honest, there was a monster in New Zealand just recently.
Yeah.
Not a Muslim terrorist, but a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Monsters come in all shapes and creeds.
Yeah, they're the most organized monsters, I would say.
Right,
That's what's scary, is like, you're talking about, that was like a coordinated fucking military operation where they shut down an entire fucking city. Like,
it was scary. It's fucking
crazy.
Scary. Yeah. It's a if you want to feel some things, go check out Hotel Mumbai.
It gets my highest recommendation.
Yeah, it's
like
really,
right now, if somebody asked me what should I go see, that would be the top of my list. I think it's top 3 on the year so far.
For me, it's probably the best movie I've seen overall. I don't know if it's
fair.
like my favorite, but it's probably
hard to be like.
It's probably
yes.
but it's probably the best.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be my number 1 recommendation. Like I said, there's just a couple manipulative things throughout the movie that kind of dropped it to that A-, but I can't. It's the strongest A-. I mean, it fucking is intense. I would compare it to No Escape with Owen Wilson from a few years ago.
Okay.
But it's 5 times more intense than that.
Okay.
And you know that it's based on a true story, and that, you know, it's kind of like Titanic. Like, you know, the characters aren't real, but there could have been people that were in situations similar to the ones these characters were in.
Yeah.
I'm sure they used some real stories they heard to kind of have the fictional characters take part in things like that.
Yeah.
The ending is an emotional fucking roller coaster, because I mean, I was sitting there like tearing up. Yeah. And this is a movie where it's like, I spent most of the time like, this is fucking crazy, this is intense, whatever. And then like you finally get that like deflated feeling when it's like, okay, I can relax. And then you're sad because like the aftermath is done in such a fucking phenomenal manner.
Yeah.
Like the way every character has their moment at the end is just fucking great. You know, it's the movie I would most recommend people see from this year.
I do want to take a second, just quick, kind of. It's on this topic. It's something that maybe some people maybe felt like maybe we should have said right off the bat.
Okay.
Which is, we understand that these are Muslim extremist terrorists. We understand that not all Muslims are like that, and we are not saying that by any stretch.
I don't think we need to say that.
I know that some people...
I'm against making that statement because I just think that that's fucking dumb. I mean, of course it's true. Like, there are good Muslims, like there are good Christians, there are asshole Christians, whatever. Yeah. But it's like, I don't feel the need to say that. This movie doesn't quantify that outside of that one scene where she's giving the prayer.
Right. I understand why you're not liking that I'm saying it.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's something that I'm going to say because I want it on the record. I want people to understand.
Why do you need that on the record? If anybody thinks you hate Muslims, then
I'm just going to make it explicitly clear. Explicitly clear, so there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Oh, they can think I hate Muslims. I don't give a shit.
Well, he doesn't hate Muslims, people.
You don't need to tell them that. They can just make up their mind. He just hates every religion. I do. Okay, yeah, that's all true. But like, if you look at polling data, like, it's not the fact that they're Muslim, but there is a severe problem in that area of the world with violence and all sorts of shit. And they happen to put the Muslim badge on to justify it.
Right. I don't think I'm not arguing that.
Right. I mean, but there are people who are just like, oh, you know, everybody's the same. Like if you take there's the Bill Maher clip with Ben Affleck. You ever see that?
Oh yeah, that's
the perfect example. Oof. The Ben Affleck type guy who just can't. Like,
he came off like an idiot in that clip. He really did.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, you can't just pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly.
And it doesn't mean that every Muslim is like that. It just means that it exists and it's a problem.
Right.
Like, why can't
I meet a person, I don't give a shit what, I don't care. I really just don't care.
Yeah.
And if you're that dogmatic religious, no matter what religion you are, I'm of the belief that like, we can be friends. I'll never understand you.
Yeah.
No matter what religion it is.
Yep.
So
yeah, you get into your dogmatic shit and I'm kind of.
Yeah, now I'm glad you said it because it brought up another topic for us to discuss, which was what we just discussed.
Yeah.
So
thank you for listening, guys.
Yes.
Hope the politics didn't piss you off too much.
No, I don't think people probably like it. I would assume.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Two people who are friends who aren't fucking, who are on opposite sides of the spectrum, not too far on opposite sides.
I think we're both a little more centered than some of the people that are out there.
Go see Hotel Mumbai, people. And also make sure that you check out our website, boredanoid.com, boredanoid on Twitter, bored_and_annoyed on Instagram.
That's
and
a bit of a
look us up
there.
on Facebook, Bored and Annoyed. Truthfully, they can just type in Bored and Annoyed on Google and then just add like Instagram.
There you go. We're on the Google, people.
Actually, you type Bored and Annoyed on Google and we're the first thing that pops up.
We made it. We're gonna make it after all.